and welcome to Voices of Truth, one-on-one with Hawaii's Future, brought to you by the Keone Foundation. I'm Ahu Keikahu Cardwell, and here we are today out in Nanakuli on the island of Oahu. We got a great guest, so let's go on over here and meet him. Keone,
hey.
Aloha.
Aloha.
How are you? Great to have you on the show.
Thank you.
So Hawaiian culture has a lot of different components to it.
Yes.
But we're here today to visit with you because you specialize in one component.
Exactly.
One that is almost completely gone away entirely, right?
Pretty much, yeah.
And tell us what that one is.
That's kakao na kouhi to do the work of tattooing.
Tattooing?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
So already, Keone, I'm getting the sense that the tattooing that was done in ancient Hawaii, pre-contact Hawaii,
right,
was a lot different than the popular tattooing of today.
Oh, definitely, definitely.
And yet, as we look around at Hawaiians today, Kanaka Maoli, we're beginning to see some of that old tattooing come back.
Yes, yes, that's
and
true.
You're the guy that does it, right?
Yeah.
So how long have you been doing this?
Well, I've been actually tattooing since 1990.
Really? Long time.
Yeah. But I first started off with machines, and I started learning in 1996 how to use traditional tools.
So at first you did it with machines, did it?
Yes.
Wow.
Because the reality was at that time there was no one in Hawaii that was tapping, and so therefore
doing it by hand, you mean?
Exactly, and therefore I had to look at what was available, and what was available was using Western machines. I had gotten some work done in 1989, and as I was getting the work done...
You mean your own tattoos?
Yes, on my leg. At that time, there were very, very few people actually that had anything similar to what was traditional. And so I decided to get a ala niho, which is a traditional placement from the hip to the ankle. And you know, there were a lot of people that actually were very concerned about that.
Why is that?
Well, because no one was doing it, no one was wearing it, and so there was some concern about whether or not that would ruin the rest of my life for me, because you know, tattoos have this very negative connotation, but I wasn't doing it for that. I was doing it for the cultural reasons. And in that, what happened was, at that time I also had a halau.
A hula halawa.
Yes, yes. I danced for Daryl Lupinui with the Menawai Mapuna, and after his passing, Auntie Muriel Lupinui gave me a name for a halau, and she did that prior to his passing, but I never did open the halau. She gave me that name in 1981, and so I held on to it all the way until he was gone. And about a year afterwards, I opened a halau. And so some of the people in my halau wanted to get some work done. So all of us
You mean tattoo work?
Yes.
Gotcha.
Tattoo work. And so all of us got the tattoo work done by the same person, Candy Everett. And Candy was very, very amenable to doing it in what we felt was a proper way, with protocol and things of that nature. As far as the protocol and things like that, those were the type of things that was told to me by kupuna. And there were actually 5 kupuna that were instrumental in my gaining knowledge of Hawaiian tattoos. Auntie Muriel Lupinui, Papa Kala Hikiola Nali Elua, Auntie Martha Lamho, Auntie Emma DeFries, and the guy named Arthur Cathcart.
Okay, so all very storied names
Yes.
as far as kupuna go in Hawaii.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And none of them had work, but they had either seen people get the work done, or had seen family members that had work on it. And so, like, Auntie Muriel was very, very good with genealogies, and so she made the connection with certain designs and genealogical backgrounds and things, and she instilled with me the importance of the protocols as well as the importance of the genealogies.
So while she hadn't done the work,
Yeah.
she and the other kupuna had seen the work done.
Right.
So they had the knowledge.
Right. Right.
And they passed it down to you.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
So then you had this halal of,
Yeah.
of students who you were teaching to dance.
Right. Right.
And then they began to come to you and say, Kumu,
Yeah.
can we also get the...
Yes, exactly. That's what was done.
So
And
that's how it led up to you
Yeah.
to start to do it.
And what happened? Well, it led up to me advising them what type of designs would be appropriate. And with that, Candy Everett was doing all of the work, and Candy then started asking me questions, and realized that I had a little bit more knowledge than the average person on Hawaiian tattoos. And to be real honest, at that time, I really felt that that was common knowledge. Yeah.
You thought it was?
Yeah, I thought it was common knowledge.
But it wasn't, was
it?
it?
Wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't. And that was really surprising for me.
Wow.
And so she told me, said, you know, you should consider starting to tattoo. And I had never considered it before. I was in my 30s, you know, my early 30s. And so I wasn't thinking about that. So she said, you know, it's kuleana of Hawaiian men to do it. And so
it's their responsibility.
Yes.
Yeah.
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 And that was something that stuck in my mind, because she said that there were no Hawaiians doing it at that time, Hawaiian men at that time. This was in 1989.
So this is really the story of how you didn't go to it,
Yeah,
but it came to you.
exactly.
Wow, amazing.
Exactly.
This is something that's not 1,000 or 2,000 years old. This is probably 5,000 or 10,000 years old, or even further back than that, yeah?
Exactly. I think for Polynesia, Samoa has the oldest tradition for us, because they have an unbroken tradition. But the reality is that outside of Samoa, outside of Polynesia, there were other areas that still practice tattooing, even till this day. So they
Unbroken.
have unbroken, yes. So they have a tradition that might be 5,000-10,000 years old, you know.
Wow.
And that's in the Philippines. That's in, and it's the same technique, and that's a thing that really binds us all together. It's all a very unique style of tattooing that entails you tapping one stick onto another. And that's something that is very unique. There are, of course, different styles of traditional tattooing. The hand poking type of style that you find in Japan, you find in Thailand and places like that, which probably originated either in Asia or in Europe, because, you know, the Iceman, who was found in the Italian Alps, he had tattoos, and it was probably done by hand pricking, you know, that type of tattooing where you just get a needle and just poke it onto your hand. So that probably was the oldest form.
So we're talking like maybe 30,000 years old.
Yeah.
Or more.
Yeah, or more.
More, wow.
Yeah.
So tattooing is something really that's been done the world over.
Yes, yes.
And continuously, without break.
Right.
In many parts of the world.
In many parts of the world.
Many parts of the world.
Yes. There were a lot of meanings behind Hawaiian tattoos. One was a genealogical connection, one that identified clan, one that was for protective purposes. Yeah.
Okay, so stop right there. So the genealogical one, what you mean is the pattern of the tattoo actually identified to other people what clan or what family you belong to.
Exactly. Exactly. Not
It's like a license plate on a car, if you will, yeah?
Sort of, in a way, but not real specific. In other words, you're not going to see that this design represents my grandfather, this design represents my grandmother, and this design represents my father and my uncles. You're not going to see that, but you're going to see a design that is a general representation of what either the family did, where they lived, or something that was specific to that ohana.
So that ohana, that family would have, wouldn't it be that the pattern was kind of generally the same?
Generally, it was never the same for two people,
Right.
because two people are not exactly the same,
Right.
regardless of what anybody feels. But it was the basic fundamental designs were all the same.
Right.
Yeah, and the way that it was composed and the way that it was put together was all different.
Yeah, so it was generally the same, but then there were specific things within the general pattern that were very unique for that particular individual.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. It was part of a rite of passage. The first tattoos were part of the rite of passage.
Well, so that would be what age?
Probably for boys, maybe 11, 12, 13,
Wow.
somewhere around there.
Wow.
For the first ones. And for women, they generally got something done around the time that they had their first menstrual period.
Wow.
Yeah.
So women got tattoos back then too?
Yeah.
Were there any people in old Hawaii who got no tattoos?
Actually, not from what I can gather, not from the information that was either given to me or within my own research. It seems like everybody had some sort of tattoo. Of course, those of the higher ranks had more. And part of it was that they had the wherewithal to take a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month off to recuperate, and someone would do the work for them. Now, if you were a mahi'ai or
A farmer?
Yes, a farmer that did work in a lo'ikalo, in a taro patch, then what would happen was that you didn't have as long of a time to just not work.
Because you had to be out there working each day
Exactly.
farming.
Exactly.
Help
Exactly.
grow the food for your ohana, your family.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so that's why people of higher rank often had more designs.
Gotcha. Because they had the luxury of time.
Exactly.
Because these things take time to heal.
Yes.
Where on people's bodies did they get tattoos? Was it all over, just certain parts?
We had our influence from the Marquesas. In other words.
Marquesa Islands.
Yeah, Marquesan Islands. In other words, from head to toe was tattooed. There was no spot that was not. Of course, no one actually had full tattoos from head to toe.
Right.
But the interesting thing was there was part of the Hawaiian sensibility of aesthetics came from the Marquesan sensibilities, in the sense that the right and the left side of the body were not the same. It was
They were
not
distinctly different.
Yes,
Yes.
it was not symmetrical. Part of that was, from what I was told, was that the asymmetry made the person, in essence, godlike. Yeah, because humans were symmetrical, gods might have been asymmetrical.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and so it's kind of an interesting way of looking at it. Yeah. Looking at aesthetics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the tattoos of ancient Hawaii were actually pretty much, they were geometric patterns, weren't they?
Yes. Yes.
And why was that? Why was it geometric instead of circular or anything else?
Well, circles are part of the geometry, and so we did have circular designs. We didn't have swirls and spirals and curvilinear designs as much as other places in the Pacific, like Aotearoa and such. But we did have our share of it. And a lot of the geometric patterns, it's really interesting because if you would think that a straight, very rigid pattern would work well on a very fluid body, oftentimes that doesn't make any sense, but it does. It does.
Sure does once you see it. doesn't
Exactly,
it?
exactly.
Yes.
Once you see how it's laid on, once you see the finished work, you understand the rationalization behind it. So there was some, although all of the patterns had meanings, there was also an intrinsic aesthetic value that could not be dismissed. And so the tattooists that had a combination of good technical expertise in order to pull off the geometric designs and compose it in such a way that it was aesthetically appealing was the ones that were oftentimes looked upon as being experts. There's not very many things in life where you have to be as close to perfect as possible every single time, every single stroke. You have to be as close to perfect as possible.
Wow.
But within this realm, it's true.
Wow, that's amazing. Hey, Keone, your studio is right around the corner from
Right.
where we are right now.
Right.
Would you take us in there and show us
Oh,
your studio and
definitely.
your tools and implements?
Yeah, definitely.
Wow, let's go.
Okay.
This is the building where you do it in here, huh?
Yeah.
Wow.
This is Haliola Hopako Lea, and this is where we do the work.
Wow.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see this.
Yeah. So this is where everybody comes and just hangs out a little bit. And this is a room for the apprentices, but this is the room in which
Right back
I
here.
do all the work. Yeah.
Oh, wow, look at this. Look at this.
Yep.
This is where it's done.
Yep. Exactly.
Amazing. And you have Lauhala mats down on the floor,
Yeah. And we have a mat that we pull out and get people comfortable.
and they lay on that,
And I sit here and do the work.
and you do the work.
Yep.
Wow. And so show us what you do the work with. What do the tools look like? Because you talked about tapping.
Yeah. The tools are here. These are the tools.
Wow.
And so this is one that is a fairly new piece. And what you do,
So the ink goes right down there on
Yeah.
the edge, huh?
this is the ink bowl. You put the ink inside, you dip it,
Uh-huh.
then you go in and tap.
Gotcha. And that makes the line, and you just go right.
Yep.
Now,
It makes a line and you fill it in too.
gotcha. So the edge of this is sharp. These are like
All of it is sharp. Yeah.
Okay,
It
and-
looks like a comb.
What is that? Is that what
This
kind-
is actually this is walrus. No, excuse me. This is hippopotamus tusk.
hippopotamus tusk?
Yes, hippopotamus
My
has
goodness.
the hardest natural ivory that you can get.
So
And
that is ivory.
Yeah, it's ivory. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
And how long will that last you?
Depends on several factors. One, how well I keep it. Yeah, if it doesn't fall down or anything like that. The second factor is how well I maintain it. You know, and the third factor, which is actually the most important, is whether the person's skin is really tough or acidic.
Gotcha.
Yeah. If it's tough or acidic, then the teeth wear out really quick. And so we have to resharpen, we have to redo everything. So this tool was actually the first tool that I made, and this was in 1996.
This one right here, the
Yes.
first one. Wow.
And I still use it, and I keep it on the rack so that I can teach the other tools how to tattoo.
So now I got to ask you the $65,000 question, the question that all our viewers have been waiting to have me ask, which is, does it hurt?
You know, a lot of people don't believe me when I tell them that it doesn't hurt as much as a machine tattoo. Now, everybody associates this type of tattooing with being very, very painful and very slow. The reality is that this form of tattooing in the right hands is not as painful and much, much quicker than doing it with machine. And so, you know, of course, again, they'll never believe me until they come in and actually experience it.
So it actually depends on the artist, the practitioner.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And how long do tattoos last?
It lasts for as long as your body stays intact.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Wow. Because the ink is going beneath the skin, yes?
Yes.
And that's why it lasts
Yeah.
like it does?
Uh-huh.
So somebody, Keone, somebody who gets a tattoo on the side of their leg, you know, from their foot all the way up to their thigh.
Yes.
How long might something like that take to do?
It depends. Again, it depends. I think the quickest that I've ever done it is under an hour. And
For the whole thing?
For the whole thing.
Really?
Yeah. And the average is probably about 3 hours, 2-3 hours, something like that for the whole thing.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
And so how do you do it? Do you draw the pattern first? Well, first,
Yeah.
let me back up and ask you, how do you come up with the pattern?
I meet with the individual and we talk about things. We talk about genealogies and things of that nature. Then from there, I have an idea. I have an idea of what patterns would be appropriate. I compose the patterns, show it to...
On paper?
Yeah, on paper. So I can show it to the individual, then we do the work. Then I put it on a stencil and I transfer the stencil onto the person's leg, and that way I have a guideline. But I'll be real honest with you, for the most part, the stencils are wiped out fairly quickly. And so I have the pattern in my mind already. It's
Gotcha.
embedded. Yeah.
So the paper really doesn't matter. It's just to show them.
Yeah,
Because you
pretty
already
much.
have it up here.
Pretty much.
Wow.
I've tattooed people as old as in their 80s. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
This is one kupuna that asked me to tattoo his leg, and I told him, well, you know, you don't need it. You've had a full life and all of that. He said, no, I really do. And I asked him why, and he said, because my grandchildren and great-grandchildren are coming with their names on the back of their arms and stuff. And we're forgetting who we were and are as a people. And I want to remind them of who we are. Yeah. And so you can't argue with that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the youngest was a boy that was 14. And I was, and that's not typical. But when the grandparents, not just the grandfather, when the grandparents and the parents come and ask you to do it.
How can you say no, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the child is ready. Yeah.
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 So Keone, why did you get into this? What does this mean to you to be able to do this?
It's, you know, we're that close to losing it. I mean, really that close. We're able to reclaim what was ours, and not bastardize it, not fill it up with all kinds of different things. You should be really turned on by your own culture. And if you can't be turned on by your own culture, then we're in bad shape as a people. And the reason why I think these are important is because, you know what? When I was first tattooing, I didn't have a choice. That was a machine, and that was it. But, you know, I would rather have work done with this, because this truly represents who we are. When you lie down here on these mats, you're taken back 100, 200, 300, 400 years ago, and you understand what your ancestors went through. No ifs, ands, or buts. You understand. Yeah. There's very little that can be done today that takes you back that much, that immediately. Yeah. And this is developed by our own people. And the machine was developed by the same people that killed our families, took away our lands. And why should we allow that to determine how Hawaiian or how Polynesian we are? This is the determining factor, not a machine. But that's how I feel, and other people may not feel that way, and that's fine, but that's how I feel.
So these determine who you are, not the machine kind of tattoos.
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing.
Because these carry on that voice of our ancestors. Because when you hear the tapping, this is the same thing that was heard by all of our ancestors thousands of years ago. And this whisper is still alive today.
It's the ancestors whispering to you
Yes.
through the taps.
Yeah.
Wow, amazing, amazing. Keone, mahalo for being on the show and sharing this with us. This is astounding. Please keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you.
And it's great. I am in awe of what you do of this place. It is wonderful.
Yeah, you can feel it.
You can feel it in here. Yes, you can feel it in here. You can feel it when I look at the tools, and I can very much feel it when I hear the taps.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for being on Voices of Truth.
Thank you.
And to our viewers, mahalo for being with us here on this very special edition of Voices of Truth One-on-One with Hawaii's Future. Remember, you can watch us on the web 24/7 on voicesoftruthtv.com. I'm Ehu Keikahu Cardwell, and until next time, ahui ho! Mahalo for watching Voices of Truth One-on-One with Hawaii's Future. Watch us on the web 24/7 at voicesoftruth.tv.com. You'll find all our shows, including this one, in case you want to see it again or share it with family and friends. Also view our weekly video commentaries at freehawaiitv.com. And check out our blog, published daily, at freehawaii.info. It's all part of the Free Hawaii Broadcasting Network.